I don't know what to do for an intro in this video. For some reason, it's just not coming to me. Because at this point, the entire video is done. I'm just sitting here looking at the intro. So look, bro, this video is about the Amazing Spider-Man. So let's just start at the beginning. We start with Peter as a kid with his parents. For some reason, Peter's parents are in this story. It's not that big a deal though, because they get booted out in record time after an intrusion in their home. And you know the story. They drop Peter off with Ben and May. And before they go, Peter is like, man, when are you coming back?
Not coming back, Chief.
Fast forward a few years and Peter has fully morphed into Andrew Garfield, and he is having a bad day. He's getting beat up by Flash. No motion, no friends. They don't even give him Harry. Not until the second movie, but by then.
What the hell is even that?
Hell nah, bro. What are we supposed to do with this? But Peter is out there taking pictures of Gwen from the bushes. I mean, he's not really in the bushes, but he might as well be. Then gets beat up by Flash again. It's a bad day. And then Gwen has to get in there and save him. Now it's a worse day. He's getting saved by the house. What really gets me about this opening though is the extras kicking Peter's camera while he's down. The Spider-Man writers never take a day off. They've been doing this. You wouldn't understand. But the story really gets going when Peter gets home to Ben and May, who immediately notice his beaten state. Oh, I fell, he whimpered. And now there's a flood in the basement for plot purposes. And while Peter and Ben assess the damage, Peter finds his father's bag. He shows it to the family, and you would have thought he dug up a dead body the way they fall into silence. He checks in there, but he doesn't really find anything except for a picture of his father and Kurt Connors, the lizard. He keeps looking through the bag and finds a folder. In this folder is, my heavens, the anti-life equation. Side note, something that's bugging me. You get it, you understand, right? Because he's a bug. This movie really tries to emphasize how smart Peter is, and sometimes they try it a little too hard. He has this remote lock on his door. I could see if the room was massive and it was like, damn, the door is all the way over there, but the remote is right there, and the door is here.
Brilliant, but lazy.
But all these papers lead Peter to Dr. Connors, and he wants to meet him because maybe he can help him find his parents or something like that, or confirm if they're dead. So he finds an internship that's happening the next day. So he's like, cool, I'll go meet Connors. So he goes to Oscorp where Connors works. No Harry, no Norman, nowhere to be found. And this next moment is the first sighting of evil Peter. In this movie, there's like 30 solid minutes where I believe that Peter is not acting like Peter, which I can understand because of the circumstance. But there's just moments like this throughout the movie that make me side-eye Peter. He goes to the front desk and talks to the lady, and he's like, I'm here to see Dr. Connors. And she assumes that he is here for the internship, because look at him. And she says, good, right on time. Grab your badge and go ahead, brother. Peter then proceeds to grab a random badge that isn't his. I didn't tell you that he couldn't officially sign up for the internship because it was full. So what does this lead to? Stay with me. He gets up there and we find out that Gwen is leading the whole thing, and she starts explaining the rules. And one of these rules is to not lose your badge under any circumstance. They then cut to the guy who Peter stole the badge from getting dragged out of the building, kicking and screaming. I'm sure when I first watched this movie that it was a little funny moment in the theater, but that is insane. And it's even crazier when later on in the movie, Peter meets Connors anyway on his own time. He didn't have to be here. He did this purely for the love of the game, for the fun. So eventually Connors shows up and starts yapping about the limitations of mankind and how lizards are really, really cool. And Peter being a pick-me, no, he's literally doing that right now. He brings up cross-species genetics, which catches Connors and Gwen's attention. Two things. Cross-species genetics is like this universe's explanation for Peter's and Connors' powers, pretty much any animal powers, I guess. And Gwen did not see that Peter was here, but she lets him stay because even though he gets beat on the daily, she's into that, I guess. And then Connors dips and she says, don't touch anything, don't wander off, don't mess with anything. So what does Peter do? He goes around and starts messing things up for no reason. I mean, he does bump into this guy who has a file that's the same as the symbol he found in his dad's folder thing. So he's like, oh my parents. He follows the guy and then breaks into this lab that has no security whatsoever and starts bothering these spiders. It's like his brain is on autopilot for the sake of him making it into this room so he can get powers. Because brother, he doesn't know what's in here. What if somebody sees him, says, oh, you know too much, put him with the rest of the subjects? Does he never think about that? But he does touch the machine, it goes crazy, and he gets covered in spiders. But it's nothing too crazy. Eventually the room resets and we cut to Connors. He is insisting to this guy that his research is coming together, he just needs more time. And the guy is like, there is no more time, Connors. Get it done or you're out of here. The basic scientist that's running out of time plotline, I see what it is. But why is he on a timer? We'll find out in a minute. Peter makes his way back to the group and Gwen sees him. She's mad. She walks up to him and she's like... Then one of the spiders that fell on Peter finds its way back to the surface, and it gives us what we came here to see.
I got this! I'm going to die!
Must have been the wind.
We then see Peter on the train, laid down, feet up, dastardly. A random guy walks up to him, puts a beer on his head. That does nothing, but a singular drop of moisture sends him to the ceiling. Everything that ensues after is complete tomfoolery. Peter comes down and one extra is complaining that her shirt is wet. He tries to apologize and ends up sticking his hand to her shirt, and this upsets the crowd. Peter exclaims that he is stuck to the shirt and he can't let go, but they're not going for it. But I would like to interject. These seem like a very disheveled people. I wouldn't put it past them to be naturally sticky. Just take a look at them. Maybe he really is stuck, but one guy isn't having it, so he pushes Peter and that tears the shirt away. So the one guy, he charges Peter. However, he is sent flying. Cinema, I say. Cinema. So then Peter accidentally beats everybody up. It was a bloodbath. He then runs home, gets in the house, and is questioned on where he's been. And his answer to this question is to catch a fly. Midair. Peter then raids the fridge, taking anything he can get, even if it's frozen. Listen, bro, if your kid comes home in the middle of the night catching flies, I hate to break it to you, but the Fent has claimed them, or they're Spider-Man now. But let's be real, what's more likely to happen? The next morning, things get even crazier. He then goes on a spree of breaking everything in the bathroom and tweaking out on the bed. And now Peter is like, something's off, something's wrong. So he turns to the only thing that could even remotely explain his situation, the cross-species genetics, Dr. Connors. So he just goes to Connors' house. And Connors is understandably like, who the hell are you? But Peter tells him about his father, and Connors is like, oh, I didn't know you knew ball. And this kicks off Peter's and Connors' story of figuring out the cross-species genetics. So he gives Connors the formula that he found in the bag, and Connors is like, oh my, we finally done it. So while they figure out the sciences, Peter starts going about his days and getting a handle on his powers. And we see another interaction with Flash, where he knocks a ball into this girl's paint which spills onto the paper. I blame both of them for this. She is doing this in the middle of a basketball game. Disaster was bound to happen, but they knock the ball over there again, and Peter catches it, and Flash demands it back. But Peter takes this opportunity to engage in a aura battle. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's going on. In one corner, we have Peter Parker, and in the other is Flash. Could have been Agent Venom Thompson. Both contestants will start with an obligatory 1000 aura, and the first move goes to Flash. He tells Peter to give the ball back. Firm, authoritative. If you want it back, you're gonna have to take it back. Reversed and hoed, a clean attack on Flash's character. Peter offers the ball, misses, offers the ball, misses.
Officer Bowles.
Nothing major, nothing too crazy, but Flash is definitely feeling some damage. He goes for it again, but Peter hits the overhead reverse. Flash is dazed, confused. He doesn't know where the ball is. Lord have mercy. Peter bounces the ball off his back. He then fakes a throw, leaving Flash cowering in fear. Brother, that alone is gonna be 200. Flash is now down to a total of 550. Aura. To win this, Flash is gonna have to make a mean comeback. Peter then holds the ball out, closes his eyes, and he says, gang, it's all yours. Now Flash is struggling for everybody to see. This is embarrassing. That will be another whopping 200 aura, which leaves Flash in the red of 350. 350 to Peter's untouched 1000. Them boys square off for a good old game of ball. This entire bit is so stupid. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds dumb as hell. But Peter runs. He jumps. Peter in one fell swoop has lost every single drop, breaking the board, sent to the principal's office, and Uncle Ben had to come and get him. Flash's final count is a minuscule 300 aura, while Peter's is a disgusting negative 10,000. Ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude today's battle, and we hope to see you in the next one. We cut to Ben giving Peter the yap of doom and despair, talking about how could you humiliate that man like that? You must feel pretty good about yourself. He's talking like Peter went out there, beat Flash down, and gave him a wedgie. He got a ball thrown at his back, he got swindled a few times. It is not that deep. You want to talk about humiliation? Peter may never see the inside of that gym again. He's out here destroying community property. That's not cool. Then Ben tells Peter that he needs to pick up Aunt May from work because he had to switch shifts to be here to get Peter. That's going to be very important later. But hold on. Before Peter was Spider-Man, he was the RZR Man. Nah, it's terrible. It's really bad. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone were dating during these movies. So whenever they have a romantic scene together, I do not think they're acting. They're just being, and I am not sure that I need to be here. It takes Peter like 5 ums and you-wannas and awkward silence staring to ask her out. And Gwen has already said yes before even entering the scene, so she's just sitting there with this like smile on her face, waiting. And there's these gaps in their sentences. They never really say that they're going out, but it is implied because they have this like spiritual connection going on right now. What do I mean by that? Half of the conversation is happening in the physical realm, the other is happening in the fourth dimension. I don't want to say it's hard to watch, I want to say it's an experience to watch. Release me, I say I scream. But either way, right, they start dating or whatever. And then in his jubilation, Peter has this like skating montage with country music in the background. He finds this empty lot to skate in, and he's doing tricks that he has never done in his life. And it ends with him screaming into the heavens. And now we can get to the beginning of the actual Spider-Man stuff. So after a long day at the office with Connors, Peter comes home to Ben on the porch angry. He didn't go get May like he was supposed to. So she ended up walking through a dangerous neighborhood late at night, you know the deal. And Ben starts giving Peter the whole "with great power comes great responsibility" speech, but he doesn't actually say the line. It's really just implied, which I don't like. Way to ruin it. And Ben is telling Peter, your father this, your parents that. And Peter hits him with the dangerous. Why isn't he here to tell me this himself? Where is my parents? Why can't they raise their son? And then Peter drops like the most epic line of the movie. Man, Uncle Ben, my days haven't been amazing. Some days I feel like a lonely spider. And Ben says, say that again. And now it's time to get Ben out the way. Peter ends up at a store buying some milk. Of all the drinks he could drink after a family-wide argument, that's what he chooses. But he can't afford it, so he leaves. But right before that, the guy behind him seizes the money from the register while the cashier isn't looking. He even tosses Peter the drink. Good man. We need more like him. Then Peter leaves and the cashier is chasing after the guy, and he's like, oh my, citizen, help me. Why would anybody do that? We don't know how dangerous that man is, and it turns out really dangerous. He has a gun. He trips and falls, and there's Ben who was looking for Peter, and he sees the gun. Now you would think that Ben would step out the way, maybe run in the opposite direction. This imbecile tries to go for the gun before the other guy can, while screaming for help, and I don't know why. The man is running away. He wasn't pointing the gun at anybody. He didn't even use it in the store. He could have. And what happens to Ben, brother? He gets blasted, and this leaves Peter in torment. So much so that even Flash tries to befriend him, but Peter simply snatches the little aura he has left. So now Peter's like, you know what? I'm gonna find the man that took Ben from me. Something I've noticed about Peter in this story is that he doesn't really feel like Peter. He feels more like a normal guy that got powers, as opposed to Peter Parker getting powers. See, Toby and Tom really nailed that nerdy aspect of Peter in his early years, and a lot of that makes Peter. Like, have you watched the first trilogy recently? I used to think that Peter was so cool. I still love the movies, I do. But every time Peter opens his mouth,
Punch me, I bleed. Go! Go, Webb, go! It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind.
I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella.
Peter, that was first grade.
there's about 6-7 more hours of that. You walked right into that one. You didn't even see it coming. But none of that is a bad thing. That's just how Peter is. In fact, it is essential to his character. Even the nerdy side of him feels forced to a degree. They mess up his hair, give him some glasses, and he builds a lock for his door. It's fake, it's not real. Even when he builds the webbing, I can't give him that because as a Spider-Man, that is the least you can do. That is mandatory. If you really step back and look at it, the fact that he has no friends is awkward, and a loner doesn't add up. He has nice parents. He builds things, useless things, but things. Everyone he meets seems to like him. And hear me on this next one. He bags Gwen by doing nothing. He barely spoke words, sentences, and landed a date. It took Toby and Tom 2 movies to make it happen. This time around, we get it done in one go. But watch this, there's more. This is the real difference. He goes out there looking for Ben's killer, right? Anybody with long hair and a tattoo, their time is over. He finds one guy in an alley. He's arguing. Peter starts beating that man down, inflicting as much pain as possible. He runs back into the shadows. And then, to my surprise, he starts making the suit. And there is serious disconnect going on right now. What do I mean by that? Okay. In one scene, they will show you Peter building the suit, making the webbing, testing the webbing, and they'll play this heroic music and it'll be all hopeful and jolly. Dare I say, amazing. And then they will cut to Peter beating up some man in an alley. They will cut to him inflicting pain and misery. He then makes the web shooters. And look at how happy he is, knowing damn well he has malice in his heart. This is supposed to be the birth of Spider-Man. But then they cut to him on the roof like early angry Batman. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the disconnect? But eventually Peter finishes the suit. I'm mixed on it. Some parts about it I like, but as a whole, it's really not doing it for me. There's blues on the hand in like a really weird way. The eyes are yellow. The second suit is definitely better. And it was the best one until Tom. He took everything. So Peter uses his suit to terrorize another guy who might have been the tattoo man. At this point, he has completely lost it. The guy he is hunting is breaking into a car. Guess who's already in there? Peter done broke into the car, waited on him, and he won't let him leave. He wants him to crawl out of the window in fear. And when he gets out, he gets up and turns around. Peter is gone until he jump scares the man. So he pulls out a knife and Peter, he drops down to the ground. A knife, he exclaims. My one weakness. He webs that man to the wall, laughs about it. He's having a great time. Then he goes silent. Look at the body language. He remembered what he is here to do. And this is what sells it for me. Peter checks for the tattoo, and it's not there. He then says, and I quote, "This could have got a lot worse for you, brother." What was he gonna do? If that tattoo was on his arm, what was gonna take place on this day in this parking lot? I genuinely believe he would have beat that man to death right then and there. Right before this, he webbed the guy's face so he couldn't breathe. This Spider-Man was this close to being a villain. You can't tell me any different. But then the boys in blue appear and they start aiming at Spider-Man. Peter is surprised at this, but bro, so he flees and he is so unserious about it. From this point on, it's pretty much a normal Spider-Man story. Less shenanigans. So a little later, Gwen invites Peter to dinner with her family. And things get kind of crazy because Gwen's dad is Captain Stacy, the chief of police. He's like Jim Gordon, but less important. And he's been really stressed looking for Spider-Man because he's been beating up people and throwing them into walls. And he and Peter get into an argument about if Spider-Man is doing the right thing. Is he a hero or not? And honestly, the captain might be right. I think Peter has hunted more people than he's saved. That's again like the disconnect between what they show of Spider-Man versus what Spider-Man actually is. I think they focused way too much on the whole hunting down Ben's killer part, or at least they made it too important. Because I'm sitting here watching them have this conversation, and Peter's like, yes, Spider-Man isn't just some vigilante, he's a hero. He is for the people. That man is a monster. Stop it. Everything Peter has done as Spider-Man up to this point has been for himself. Saving people just happened on the side. He will hop out of the shadows and put you in the hospital. That's the vibe he's on right now. But this argument upsets Gwen, so she takes Peter outside, where they have another interaction with the talking and the spiritual battle. He's Spider-Man, wrap it up. But before this, Connors had the scene where he's talking to this guy, and he's like, we need your lizard research right now. You're out of time. And Connors is panicking, so he goes all out with his tests and his trials. He makes a serum and he tries it on himself, and just like that, his arm is back. However, this guy, right, he's doing something, and Connors needs to talk to him, but his arm starts changing rapidly into the Devil Bringer, and Peter senses a commotion on the bridge, so he goes there, and yeah, Connors is turned into a giant lizard. He's out there throwing cars from the bridge, finds the Oscorp guy, and he tries to do him in, but Peter saves him. However, there won't be a fight. The transformation is wearing off, so he has to escape. But it does lead to the best scene in the movie, where Peter actually saves somebody. Would have been really cool like 10 minutes ago. So there's a car that's falling, and there's a kid in it. Peter is struggling to hold on to it, and the kid is panicking. He's panicking too, so Peter gives him his mask, tells him it'll make him brave, and he uses that bravery to slowly climb up the car. The car is on fire now too, because why not? But Peter cannot get a good hold on it. So what happens? How do we fix this? They both plummet to their doom. They live. Peter gives the kid to his dad, and he's like, thank you so much. I must tell my brethren of this day. What do we call you? Peter looks at him and says. After that, we see Connors tweaking in the sewers. See, the lizard has taken over his mind, and he's slowly turning into the master from Fallout. He's gonna perfect the serum and the science and all that. And Peter catches him at the office, and he notices Connors is acting strange, like a lizard. So Peter goes to Stacy and says, Connors is a giant lizard. He gets dragged out. Yeah. So Peter's like, I don't need them. I can handle this myself. And we come to find out that he could not handle that himself. He sets up this web thing and a camera and waits. And eventually the lizard appears from the shadows. As they fight, the thing starts talking, saying, you can't stop me. I'm getting stronger every day. And I'm like, has it even been a day since the bridge? He might be gassing it right now. But Peter can't do anything but listen because he can't fight back. The lizard is too strong. So they fall into the water. And Peter barely manages to escape and comes out the other end in defeat. He then goes to Gwen's house and they do the thing again. It's every scene now. Except this time, Peter's like really messed up. Scratches all over the body. Everybody wants to put on the mask until it's time to take a bullet train to the face. And while they do that, the lizard finds Peter's camera. And the lizard is like, okay, we kill Peter and turn everybody into lizards. But it wears off again and Connors is like, I really don't want to do that. He's a good guy. Connors is going back and forth with the lizard in his head. It's doing the whole humanity is destructive and weak. But Connors isn't really down for all of that. I really just wanted an arm. So the lizard is like, let's take one more dose and see where we stand. It immediately goes to kill Peter. Didn't even think about it. People are running away in fear because that thing is scary. Peter starts fighting again, but he really can't do anything. The lizard is in there mixing up potions, making bombs. But to be fair, the lizard attempts to get Peter to join it. Now I would be tempted, I would. But he has to go. Peter suits up and starts wrestling the lizard through the halls, being goofy. And now Gwen, the human, gets in the middle of the fight. And now that she's here, now that he knows she's watching, Peter pulls the performance of a lifetime, webs the lizard in seconds, then breaks the window, pulls Gwen close, says, and I quote,
Fatality.
As you can see, the great Stan Lee is blessing us with a most glorious cameo.
I got this!
Peter is done, but fortunately the lizard has left of its own accord. But he finds where the lizard fled to and follows that trail all the way down to the lab. And we see videos of Connors explaining how he's going to infect everybody with the lizard gene. He's going to go to the top of Oscorp Tower, and there is this launching device up there that will shoot something into the sky and let it rain down on the city. Dumb comic book stuff, you know what it is. But he isn't saving this for later. The lizard is out there right now. It runs into a SWAT team and they start lighting it up until the lizard is defeated. But it wasn't real, it was fake. Once they get close enough, he sprays them with the fumes of the gods, and they start turning in seconds. But we only have the budget for one big lizard, so these guys will just kinda stay here. Gwen, on the other hand, has made it to Oscorp and she is making an antidote. I don't know where this cure came from. I really don't care to. The movie is almost over. Quiet down. Peter is hella mad that she's doing this because the lizard is making good time, but Gwen refuses to leave, so Peter needs to get there quick. But great heavens, he's been hit. Stacy got him, or so he thought. Peter beats the SWAT team to hell. That's twice in one night. However, Peter is forced to talk to the captain, and he tells him about the lizard, the plan, and Gwen is in the tower. She's gonna die. Everybody is in trouble if we don't stop the lizard. So he lets Peter go, but not before he gets hit with a real bullet, which does have a tiny effect on Peter's swinging abilities. And this is really bad because the lizard is at the lab. Gwen is in there, terrified. He's not worried about Gwen though. He finds her, but he takes a canister that was right next to her. She's gonna be a lizard anyway. But what is Peter's plan? How do we stop this calamity? Out of nowhere, the dad from the bridge was a construction worker and somehow gets his brethren to assemble multiple cranes in a straight line, and we get one last swing to the tower. And while that happens, Gwen passes the cure to her father and he tags in to go help Peter. And Peter, when he gets there, is having a bad time. The lizard loaded the mist into the thing, and now they're playing keep away until it launches. Peter gets caught up and it's holding him, even gets his web shooters taken out the way. But instead of taking Peter out the game right then and there, he has to yap, which gives Captain Stacy enough time to appear and blast away. And there just so happens to be liquid nitrogen all over the roof. When this gets on the lizard, it's really over. Peter throws him into the tanks and acquires the anti-lizard juice. The only problem now is that the lizard can heal really fast, and it's not long before Captain Stacy runs out of supplies, eventually succumbing to the lizard's aura. Very crazy that he didn't bring anybody else with him, but Peter gets the antidote in just in time. The lizard has him, but at this point they're just waiting to see who wins, and it's the antidote. Humanity prevails. Connors gets hit and he starts turning back immediately, and he just falls all the way down there. But then the tower thing starts falling too, and it makes me so mad because Peter chooses to jump from the worst angle. He jumps right off the edge of the building. There is all that space down there, but he deliberately chose the worst end to jump from. That leads right off the building. He doesn't have his web shooters. Connors barely manages to grab him and pull him up, but there was no need to do that either because guess what? Peter can stick to walls. And then they remember that Captain Stacy was up there too. Somehow, nothing fell on him, but his dying words to Peter are to leave Gwen out of his life because it's dangerous. You saw what just happened. And Peter says, yes, I will do that for you.